yeah, thank you everybody for joining us. It feels like an awful long time since we all got together for our last official MSDI working group. We've obviously had the excitement of Southwest Pacific 21 in February, and we did have the interim in-person session there, which Dan very kindly shared the notes from with you. It was really useful to get people together and have the opportunity to discuss things face to face. So just to sort of start with the kind of boring bureaucracy pieces, thanks Dan for sharing the minutes from the previous meeting. Was everybody happy that that was a true and accurate record of the sessions, or any amendments anybody would like to make? Cool, thank you. So I just want to also welcome some new members. I would like to welcome Yuakia. Is that, I've got that wrong, haven't I?
Yeah, yes, that's correct.
Oh, cool, excellent. Thank you for coming along, and welcome to your first Southwest Pacific MSDI working group. And also welcome to Matt. Thank you very much for coming along from Geoscience Australia.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Okay, so I wanted to start with a little bit of an update from the Southwest Pacific meetings in Fiji and the MSDI working group in Indonesia. So both meetings went really well. Our report was really well received. Everybody's very impressed with the amount of work that we have undertaken. Both of the reports have been made available both to Southwest Pacific and to the IHO MSDI working group, have been made available on their websites. In the Southwest Pacific Hydrographic Commission in Fiji, there was a pre-meeting where we got people together face to face. We were really fortunate to have some people that are often unable to attend our meeting. So we had a lady from Tonga able to attend, also Vaipo from the Cook Islands, who has also joined the Southwest Pacific MSDI working group. Doesn't seem to be, unfortunately, be able to make it today. We started off with an overview of the MSDI working group and the type of work that we were undertaking. And we also presented the overview of the videos that we worked hard on producing last year of the strategic pathways from the United Nations Integrated Geospatial Information Framework. Everyone's really impressed with those. People feel like those are really, really useful resource that can be reused and accessed by many people. We also then talked about activities that our group could focus on for this coming year, and we got some really great suggestions from people that were present in the room. There was also really good discussion around open data, and also a suggestion that maybe this working group could help with ad hoc assistance in creating data sharing agreements with respective governments. And also as well, I raised whether there was an opportunity to maybe look at the IGIF MSDI maturity assessments, and we discussed that felt like quite a big action for now, and talked about whether there would be potentially anything that would be interim that people could look at. So we talked about focusing on the aims of an MSDI maturity assessment. We also talked about the roadmaps to show progress towards the end goal and how we could break that pathway down. and we also talked about projects at SPC to go back over the data holdings. So an awful lot came out of those sessions, and also as well a lot of the Pacific Islands shared how they were managing their hydrographic data, and actually some really impressive demonstrations and verbal demonstrations of how they're managing their data and how they're managing survey data. And actually I felt like some of what they shared demonstrated that a lot of the Pacific Island nations already have a high level of maturity in that. So it was really interesting to discuss that. So I wasn't planning to go over all of the presentations. I think that probably wouldn't be a great use of our time. They are available on the websites if anybody wanted to ask any particular questions, even now, or happy to cover off questions via email. That was what I was going to plan to do. Any questions or any reflections on those two quite big meetings? Hi, Anna.
Hello. So with all those great suggestions and you know, to take the work forward, do we plan to have a kind of roadmap or something that take us, I don't know, within the next few months to have some kind of visibility of where we will be working, when we will be working, and what kind of deliverables we want to achieve? Or is it more of a kind of ad hoc way? We put that in the minutes or in the agenda and try to kind of progress that. What's your thinking?
Cool. So that's a really good question. So were you thinking about roadmap for our group specifically, or roadmap for the Hydrographic Office, the Hydrographic Commission as a whole?
No, for this working group specifically.
Yeah, cool. So that's fantastic. Really great question, Anna. So every year, the activities that we've worked on within this working group have all been fed directly from the overarching Southwest Pacific Hydrographic Commission's work plan. And when we formed as an MSDI working group, that work plan was already established, it was already in place, and there were already identified activities for us to focus on. And we even had those prioritized, and that was why we started off with the Why Should You Share Data publications, which was the data value propositions. And then the next action that was prioritized was the implementation and adoption of IGIF. So we started with the videos to try and help people to understand a little bit more about what those strategic pathways are. So you've led really nicely into the next agenda item, actually. So the Southwest Pacific Hydrographic Commission are now working on a new refreshed work plan. It's not a throw everything away and start again completely from fresh, because they are still looking at the following the IHO's plans and the goals. So what I wanted to do today, and I included a hyperlink in the email that I sent around a couple of days ago, is to show you the theory of change work that's been undertaken, and also as well the diagram that we looked at within the Hydrographic Commission 21 meeting in February to try and identify what activities they are. And the reason I wanted to do that is because I thought that it would be a good idea to use that as inspiration for what we might want to focus on through the year, but also as well what I wanted to do is to take back your feedback to the Southwest Pacific Hydrographic Commission coordinating meeting, so they also get your input into what you think the activity should be. And they really should be aligning up with one another. So if there's things that we really want to be doing that's not in the Southwest Pacific Work Plan, we need to have a look and see where those align. And then equally the other way round, if there are things in that work plan that we don't think we should be progressing, then that's a situation for conversation as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, but also as well, I think it might be worth if I pop the hyperlink to the PDF into the chat window, because what you might find, I had to open the PDF in Adobe to be able to zoom in sufficiently. Lost it again. Sorry, I had that open just now. I'm going to blame it being late. Hi Mafoa, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Helen.
Are you well?
Yeah, good.
Good, cool. We're just talking, oh Dan, you've done it, thank you. Mafoa, we're just talking about the theory of change bow tie work that we looked at in Southwest Pacific Hydrographic Commission 21 in February. And we're having a look at this to see so I can gather everyone's thoughts on it, but also to see whether this can help us to identify an activity that we'd like to take forwards for this coming year as a working group.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, so the approach that the Hydrographic Commission Coordinating Committee have been using is using the theory of change model. It's you can Google it online. It's about thinking about outcomes and goals and sort of looking at a different approach. I'm not an expert in it myself, but looking at a different approach into how to identify things that you want to take forwards. So here on this diagram, we've got the goals and the vision that's been taken from the IHO strategic plan, but also as well from the various regional strategies. Let me just change to the hand. There's the 2050 strategy for the Blue Pacific. There's also the regional strategy on safety and navigation. And there's I'm sure that's you can spell that out somehow, but there's this fifth PRET-MM outcome statement that they've utilised for all of these goals here. And there's also targets that relate to these goals, and they sit down either side. And then off the back of this, there's been brainstormed a whole host of different activities. And these post-it notes here have been developed through series of workshops, and all of the members who attended the Hydrographic Commission were asked to sort of prioritise these, have a look at these, review these, see whether there are any gaps, add anything that they wanted to add in. So what we've been asked to do is to look at these activities, see whether there's anything that potentially is missing, see whether there's anything that we think is potentially wrong, and provide our input. I've gone on over here with a very kind of scrappy drawing to highlight the ones that I felt were particularly MSDI focused. So here on the targets, you can see what was a very old target within the IHO strategic plan, which was to build a portal to support and promote regional and international cooperation in the marine spatial data infrastructures. Now that target, I believe, has been challenged at the IHO MSDI working group. And I think there was some concerns around IHO holding a portal itself that other people would put their data on. So that target there has moved away slightly. So that was one of the targets I was going to raise in the meeting, as long as you all agree that that's something that we probably wouldn't be focusing in on as a group. Belen, thank you for putting your hand up.
Yes, I have a comment about this one. Do you want me to make it now or to let you finish?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it.
I was going to suggest, because I know this has been done before in the MAC Hydrographic Commission, the Caribbean Hydrographic Commission, and I know it was my colleague Vicky Ferrini from CIVET 2030 who facilitated the deployment of that portal. So perhaps I could, if it's interesting for the group, I could try to see if somebody from her team or herself can come and present about what they have done in the Caribbean, and we can see whether it's something that we want to pursue, or as you're saying, maybe it's out of the scope. Just a suggestion.
What do people feel? So one of the things we always try to make sure we do is that the things that we take forward is what is valuable for this group and what we think would be add value for the region and would be most beneficial for the region. So I'm always very conscious that we definitely are not doing what Helen thinks is the best idea. We are doing what we collectively think is the right idea. So really interested to hear. Anna.
So do I understand that correctly? This is a portal that would hold all kind of hydrographic / marine geospatial information and share this information. So collect this information from different organizations and share that with the wider community. I'm basically, this is something that the New Zealand Marine Geospatial Information Working Group has on their mind since the beginning. So for the last 5 years, there's a huge interest in making sure that we can have visibility of what kind of MGI has been collected in New Zealand, what kind of data is open and we can share and so on. And so it's not specific to New Zealand, I know. And so this is something that would be of real interest if we could progress some work in that space. We have found through, so LENS and 3 other central government organizations in New Zealand have worked on a proof of concept, which is a data mesh that links different portals. So LENS's NPI, DOC, and TRFET's portal to make that information that we hold more visible and interoperable. And it has been successful. The prototype has not been taken into a business case because of funding. Non-funding opportunities, I guess. But this is definitely something that would fit, that would fill a gap, I guess. The NZODN and the AODN, it's something that was, built to kind of fill the gap. I understand that NIWA is moving away from the NZODN. So there's still some work in that space, and I think it could be really, really interesting to know how other regions or countries manage that challenge of sharing data or making it discoverable for others. Yeah.
Does anybody want to follow up on that? Dave, do you want to follow up or go on to another thought train?
Well, I mean, what Anna was describing is sort of what we've been adopting internally within GA, and there's a larger initiative called the Digital Atlas of Australia, which is essentially a federated MSDI or SDI system, drawing from authoritative sources across government, industry and academia to provide open access to authoritative data. In this case, it's fairly selected, and it's not all encompassing, but I mean, you've got to start somewhere. AMSIS, the Australian Marine Spatial Information System, which is what we're responsible for delivering, does a similar thing. It sources information that's publicly accessible and available. So my question was the concerns around the IHO portal about accessing and aggregating data, or more about hosting? Because if they're hosting information, then that's a data security and sovereignty issue, potentially as well. So I could understand the reluctance to move into that space, but if it's just aggregating and accessing, then I would see less of an issue, and that's absolutely possible to move forward with.
Cool, David. It sounds like you know loads more about that than I do. But yes, there was definitely a lot of concerns around hosting. There was concerns around how it would be funded. There was concern around who would be supporting that. There was concerns around data security access. So I think what I'm hearing is that we don't want to write this off. We think it will be valuable for the region, but we'd have to think about, of this big thing, what could we do to contribute that would actually be achievable for us as a working group, that we could deliver. What do we think? What's people's thoughts on that?
I think that it's all about leveraging efforts and needs, right? So I feel like right now might be difficult to kind of maybe make a decision right now, but because also the scale of this portal can be very different, and can be like things like what David just described, for example, is more something that would be a national task, which definitely we don't want to overlap with. I'm just, as we speak, I'm trying to find a link to the one from the MAC, which I have not found yet. But the idea there is just like, it's a portal where you can see where is the available data, and where is like data sets that people know about, but have not been released yet. So it kind of provides one entry point for that region, for that sort of information. And it's interesting how it is perceived also from kind of a JEPCO CIVIT 2030 perspective, that is not necessarily overlapping, because that feed into the bigger initiative, and you can have those kind of portals also called in from wider global ones, and they can be used for different things. And as far as I know, they found it really useful in the MAC to have that one joint thing. I feel like a lot of things are really similar in the two hydrographic commissions, but also I acknowledge that the Caribbean Sea is like this one closed sea, which perhaps makes a bigger case for why is it important to have a common portal. So I think that the biggest question for me would be, is there a need for a portal that has the extent of this hydrographic commission, and why and what for? But I definitely could, if we think this is something interesting, I could definitely look into whether that same platform that was delivered by CIVIT 2030 and Lamont Doherty Observatory could also be kind of, maybe it's an easy thing to just fine tune it for this area, and it's a low key thing. And again, my offer is again just to have somebody tell us like the 10-15 minute presentation about it, and then we can see how we feel, because it's the only example I know where they have done the same thing already. And perhaps I'm also not like an expert on that portal, so I might be giving some misleading information as well.
Okay, cool. So I think there's a couple of things there. I think if people are happy, I think it would be really good to have like a 10-15 minute presentation on what they've done. I think that'd be really interesting. And then the other thing I think is if I can take this question back now to the South West Pacific Hydrographic Commission and ask them how valuable they feel this would be for the region. So I think you've posed some fantastic questions there that we can feed back and get their thoughts. Neil, you've been very patient. Thank you.
No, it's all connected to this, and I just wanted to listen to everyone else's responses as well. But yeah, I think if you do go back, I think the main thing is to point out that it isn't about hosting. You know, it's prone to failure if you try to centralize one ring that controls them all. You know, put all the data in one place. It's an expense. It's too difficult. The data's so large. So I think one of the things is, yeah, if the concern was around hosting, then you appease and say, look, we're still really interested in this concept, but it's not about hosting. It's about aggregating. It's about displaying other people's data, which I put the third item. Dave's put the AMSIS and the Digital Atlas, and I put obviously AusSeabed. I mean, AusSeabed approach is sort of threefold, right? We have one way that people contribute, which is just to provide coverage information so we can identify data across the region that is available from somewhere, right? It's not just from GA. Then there's this other approach where if you're a really big organization like CSIRO and you manage your data well and you've got web services, you provide links to all of that, and that's integrated into the AusSeabed portal as a data set that's visible, not just where it is, but you can see what the data looks like. And then the third option is where there's a group in our region that has no real strong case. They might be able to manage their data, but publishing it and making it accessible interoperably is just beyond their capability at the moment. And that's where they do actually provide Geoscience Australia with a copy of their data, and we publish it for them. So it's sort of a bit of a hybrid. We're hosting small amounts of data. We're hosting our own data, but we're presenting data from Australian Antarctic Division, from CSIRO, from a whole bunch of states. And the data is actually coming from their locations. So it's aggregating, it's not hosting. So the AusSeabed, I think, is a good example of one where you can say, well, what do we know about the data in the region? And that's just a simple map that shows all the sort of different areas that are available, and it'll tell you whether it's digitally available online, accessible or not, who you contact to find it, or drilling further down, it actually could display a visualization of the data so you can see what it sort of looks like. I think there's plenty of great examples out there. Wouldn't be difficult for someone to create the underlying portal environment to support it. The real trick then is how you get people to participate, contribute to that portal. But yeah, we've got multiple ways. I wouldn't imagine that we'd be able to hook it in, say, to the Digital Atlas of Australia, because it's got a very specific thing, but the concept is right. But certainly both the technology stack that AMSIS use and that AusSeabed use is very easy to replicate. You know, we can stand up another portal in days, but getting everybody to contribute their data that they can would be the real trick. So that would be a piece of work that we could help facilitate as a working group.
Cool. Hi, Anna.
Question to Neil. Is there some support documentation, some guidelines that would be available for other countries, other organizations to set up this kind of environment? Do we know, have you worked for costs and things like that? You muted, sorry.
Probably nothing really in terms of cost. We hadn't really, we've built and sustained. Oh, look, yeah, I think someone probably in the team probably could, given that the AusSeabed is a co-funded activity that certainly the the infrastructure is hosted at Geoscience Australia, but could be hosted anywhere. But it actually, that funding comes from a number of organisations to help keep this infrastructure going. That's the Australian Hydrographic Office, CSIRO, Australian Antarctic, and broader parts of the community, either through in-kind or money. So we could give you an idea, but the main thing I think to point out is that it's all built on open software and open standards. So, the cost of implementing this is not high, although obviously you've got to have an in-house support net, a technical support team. You've got to have a few people to keep the infrastructure going. So that's the really ongoing cost. But you're not having to pay for a lot of licensing, which can be often the biggest cost. Dave might be able to give us an idea on what it might cost for sort of the Esri side of it. But that's hard to pull apart because Geoscience Australia pays a lot of money for Esri, and that's just one part that's using it. But the AusSeabed one is open source. It's using GeoServer and backend databases and standards that just, as I say, very easy to implement. Maybe doesn't have all the full functionality of an Esri stack, but it does a good job in terms of what you're trying to do, and that is support and promote an MSDI.
Cool. So just conscious there's a few other things on the bow tie diagram here, which would be good to go through. So that's one of the IHO targets. And then here, this is another target, which we've done an awful, what's going on here? There we go. I've got a combination of a slow computer and an awkward mouse in Adobe there. So this is agreed value propositions, which promotes the value of hydrography and open data. So we've done the, and these are the activities over here. So we've done our why we should share data publication. And one of the things as well that came out at Southwest Pacific, which I've asked Andy Coots whether he could share with us, is he's looked at some hydrographic data use cases, and he's put some numerical values next to those. So I've asked him if he can send those through to us and whether we would be able to cross-reference them. So we've done quite a lot of work in this area already. How are people feeling about this? Do we think there is more opportunity here? Do we feel like we've met the target described by the IHO? I think as well, another way to think about it is what value do we think we would get from doing more work in this area? That's, I'm sure there's loads of things you could do, but would it actually be valuable? Berlin.
I think I'm going to say something that probably applies to kind of a collection of the outputs that we already have. Would it be an idea that we think about making some kind of publication in the International Hydrographic Review or something like that about the work done by this working group? Is that something that we'll be interested in investing time on?
If I understand that correctly, so do you mean some sort of like catalogue or promotional, this is everything we've done? Or have I completely misunderstood that?
No, I think more about like kind of maximizing. I'm thinking about this expression. I'm gonna translate directly from Spanish. It says something like, if you put an egg, then you should sink, right? So I feel like we're putting a lot of eggs here, and are we singing enough about them? Are we getting the most out of that? So perhaps another like, because I'm also happy with the kind of, oh, we already did it, we can wrap it up. I think that's a way to go. But then if we would like to kind of exploit it to the most and keep promoting it to the most, would it be an idea to kind of develop that document into a maybe a note, an article, and in the IHR, or because also there is probably a little bit of underrepresentation of the Pacific content in the IHR at the moment, so maybe that would be a good idea, because that's also that's probably also part of the goals of the Hydrographic Commission somewhere. I don't remember if there is a sticker here, but I know it's a common topic that is requested from IHO to the different hydrographic commissions. So just to put it there as a thought.
Yeah, so the one that's circled above, that was one of the priorities that was identified by the participants of the Hydrographic Commission, which is about having a place at the table so that we can influence conversations regarding the region. So yeah, you're absolutely right there. It's, you know, that promotional, and I definitely think we shouldn't stop. We did quite a bit of work last year, didn't we, promoting the publication, and obviously we've got those videos as well now that we've produced. We could still utilize some of our effort in continuing to promote the work that we've already done. What do people think? Any more thoughts?
Yes, I would just say, yeah, it's very good work. So just, I think the smaller investment in promotion and reminders to keeping it alive, the idea of publishing it more formally keeps it alive for a little bit longer.
Yeah, cool. Okay. So let's have a look, and then up here we've got a little collection of activities, and some of these are ones that have fed through from, I guess, what is the current Southwest Pacific work plan, because the new one hasn't actually been launched yet, which is very sort of similar engagement and value propositions. Adoption and implementation of IGIF Hydro. So obviously we did a little bit of work on that by creating the bite-sized videos, and then also IGIF model maturity assessment. Could we promote an aim for maybe one country to sign up to doing a maturity assessment? So let's just focus on the adoption and implementation of IGIF Hydro and the IGIF Hydro maturity assessments. How do people feel about that? Is that something that you think would be valuable for people within this region and members within this region to look at doing? Do you think that's something that would be helpful for them? Hi, Anna.
Yeah, I think it could be valuable. I certainly wouldn't mind socializing the idea with MGI steering group, and that could be something that we do in the incoming months. What kind of support would they be to do this work done? Is it just the documentation on the IGIF website, or yeah, what kind of support were you thinking providing?
I don't know yet, to be honest. I think they're just trying to explore what things we could do. There's a lot of documentation around the maturity assessment already. The UKHO, we're in the process of writing up a report for a maturity assessment, so we could share, and I did a presentation on that, how we approached ours. So we would be happy to share our approach and say to people, this is how we've done it. It's not the only way to go about your assessment. But there could be, maybe there could be things that this group could do as well that would help people with their assessment. Obviously, the videos are really helpful for people to sort of at least understand what they're assessing themselves against. My only concern with this, sorry, Belen, do you want to go first?
No, you can go ahead. I can wait.
My only concern with this is how valuable is it? And does it kind of, I'm going to be really honest, does it take you down a proper old rabbit hole? And is it really going to help the countries within this region? It was quite a lot of work to do the maturity assessment, and it is going to be really helpful. And we definitely had to do it at the UK Hydrographic Office, but is that going to be the same case for everyone? And I want to be able to provide good feedback to the Southwest Pacific Commission, and I'm a little bit concerned that it could be quite a lot of effort for people and not too much benefit. So I guess I'm being a bit, I don't know if other people are familiar with this expression, I'm being a bit of a devil's advocate here, really. I'm throwing that out there just to see what people think. This is you'll notice we're quite an open working group here. We like to sort of talk things through. So please, hopefully people feel safe to share how you think, and it's it's not necessarily that there's anything right or wrong with that. It's good to talk things through. Belen.
Yes, thank you, Helen. I actually have, my thoughts are very much in the line with yours. It's like, yeah, it seems like maturity assessment is something nice to do, and it will be very straightforward to go down that rabbit hole, even though it will be a deep hole. But is it really what we need, right? And I remember from the conversations that we had back in Nandi, where there was some, I think it was Julian, who was talking about, well, can we kind of first define what is that aim, what is that goal? Because if we start doing like maturity assessment with respect to what, and we might end up assuming that there's one box that fits all, and perhaps we're not being good enough at getting that feedback and making sure that we are supporting the majority of the nations within the Commission. So one thought is, would it be an idea to make some sort of questionnaire and get some answers from all the countries saying, do you think these things that we have done so far have been useful? Which ones of these 1, 2, 3, 4 options would you find more useful? But then if we're doing that, the good side of that is that we will get feedback from those who are not involved in this working group, and we know that there's a lot of people who are interested in the things we're talking about here. They just don't have capacity to participate in these meetings, and their input is super valuable. But then if we want to reach them and get proper feedback from them, then we also need to be very good at explaining in writing what do we mean with the different proposals. So just an idea to kind of make sure that we consult enough and that we make things regional enough before getting started, and don't assume that, of course, and I know you're not assuming that because you just said that, but don't assume that the model that is used in the UK or in other places or Australia, which have like bigger capacity, will fit everyone. That's my comment.
I really like the idea of that questionnaire and reaching out to wider people in the region, not just the people that are able to make this meeting, to get their thoughts and feedback. So I'd be interested to hear if other people also like that idea. Anna, what?
Yeah, so I was wondering if there were, because I think in the minutes sent, there were a few use cases of countries who did their maturity assessment, including the UK HO. In that assessment, is there a section that talks about the benefits of achieving this assessment? What are the real, what is the real value? What were the learnings? What's, you know, what people got out of that, and how did they implemented it at the end? How did it help to, you know, progress some of the work, or fill some of the gaps and so on? So that, I guess, would be the most valuable thing to know going into this kind of exercise, having those real examples where there's value of doing such an exercise. Because as you say, if it's quite time consuming, it might, you know, and it just ends up being an exercise for the sake of it. It might not be something that it's really appealing if there's no value out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so at the UKHO, we did it because we're looking to transform how we manage and hold our data. We know that we need to do things very differently to how we do it now. We're receiving more and more data. We've got, how we've developed over the years, we have very kind of quite siloed product production flow lines, which are set up to produce products, but the data doesn't sort of flow in between those production flow lines, and therefore we have to do a lot of manual effort to maintain data across those various product streams. So we're investing a lot in how we manage our data. So we wanted to see how are we doing now? We wanted to get some data to be able to use to demonstrate we're moving in the right direction. But the other main reason we wanted to do it, and this is why it also consumed quite a lot of time, is we kind of did it as a double purpose of bringing people in to talk about how you hold data, talk about how you're managing data, get people to think about those questions. So we kind of did it as a sort of a bit of a knowledge sharing exercise as well, and a bit of a development exercise. So we didn't just focus on a small group of people and say, right, let's assess our maturity. We brought quite a lot of people into that maturity assessment, and other organizations might not need to do that. That was just something that we chose and we felt would be helpful for us. So yeah, we're still waiting for the report to come out for the UKHO. So at the moment, we don't know that second part of that question, how it has and hasn't helped. We don't know yet. In terms of getting people involved, it's definitely helped. It's definitely made people go away and ask those questions and talk about things and discuss things afterwards. And it's made people interested in it as well. Okay, so let's just think, are there things, sorry, you just popped your hand up. I was about to ask another question. Do you want to go now?
Just very quick, that it would be interesting as well to question what would be the benefit for individual countries to have this task centralized by this working group. So in other words, what is that us as a working group can offer in this process? What would be our role? Would we be some kind of consultant to that process? Because it's something very kind of personal to an extent, not really to each organization. So my thought is, like, if somebody already wants to do it, will they do it anyways, with or without us? Are they already doing it? Are we otherwise going to create a new program that people don't have? Or do we really have something that we can offer that will enable those who are maybe in the gray zone, and who, so what is that we offer in that process? That's just something to keep in mind when we consider that.
Yeah, cool. So I was going to move us on to the sort of what things do you think that we could be doing as a working group that are not listed in those activities? Are there things that you think that we could do that would be helpful for people that we can have added to this activities list? Go for it.
Sorry, I feel like I'm talking a lot and I don't want to make
Oh,
a
you're
monologue.
good.
But I think that something interesting that was kind of brought up in the meeting is to make a analysis of the overlap between this working group and the other working group that I cannot remember the acronym right now that VIPO is leading.
Yeah.
In the meeting, it was clear that there was quite a lot of overlap. And I think that if we want to keep in this kind of service to the region mindset, it will be good to find out what can we help them with and see if they can be the ones helping us out to decide what is the priority. And when we definitely have an imbalance in the representation in this working group, where we are a lot of people coming from a little bit not so Pacific countries, call them in some way. Sorry if I'm using the wrong words for that, but I think it seemed to me like they have clear goals and they also would like to get some help from anybody who is willing to help. So I feel that could be a task, at least initially, just engage with them and identify the overlap. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. So it was the Pacific Geospatial and Surveying Council, was that it? That was the one, wasn't it? Yeah, so they're really interested in our videos. They'd like to promote them as part of a webinar. And the chap from SPC, not Shailesh, who joins us, it was I've got a brain block, I can't remember his name, Andric. Andric wanted to help support advocating the IGF hydro, and he said that we can link up with him. So yeah, I think that is an activity we could suggest and put forward. How do other people feel about that? Do you think that would be something that we could work on? Hi, Anna.
I think it's a good idea to have visibility of what other groups are out there and what we're doing and not duplicating the effort. So yeah, kind of mapping exercise could be useful. Yeah. It's my personal
Okay.
thought.
So I'm sort of thinking as well, so would the goal sort of be to share resources, collaborate on something, understand, I think what I'm hearing as well is understanding how work that we do could be beneficial for the region, and get that feedback. Okay, cool. We'll try and shape those up. Okay, I think I'm feeling like we've probably kind of gone through the most of our creativeness at the moment, and we've come up with as many ideas as we're going to get to. So I think the meeting to talk about the work plans in a couple of weeks. So what I'll do is I'll email you back to let you know how that goes. And obviously we can talk about it again in our next working group. And any thoughts and ideas that you have, if you're speaking to any colleagues within this area, and you get an opportunity to ask them how this group could support and how this group could help, please do get that feedback. And I do think that questionnaire is a helpful opportunity. We could also use that to sort of promote what we've done and say, here's the things we've created, this is why we've created them, this is why we think they'd be helpful for you. Can we get your feedback on them? These are the kinds of things we're thinking about doing in the future. As long as you're all happy for me to say, or for us to say this, we could say, we do want to be a working group. We do want to produce outputs that can be utilised and be helpful for people in the area, and just sort of try and encourage that feedback. Okay, cool. So the next agenda item, I'm still sharing, aren't I? Cool. The next agenda item is nomination and election of vice chair. So Pip left her position as vice chair some time ago now, back in November, and we've been without a vice chair for some time. So Belinda did put herself forward as being interested in becoming vice chair, and we weren't sure whether the terms of reference and the procedures allowed somebody who was not part of an IHO organisation member state was allowed to. We've gone away and we've clarified the rules, and that is fine. Belen can put herself forwards as vice chair. So what I wanted to do today, I popped the email out to everyone to say it's not too late for people to put themselves forward. Is anybody interested in putting themselves forward as vice chair, or would anybody like to nominate anybody as vice chair? We need a vice chair, so we can't be silent. Hi, Anna.
Can we just nominate Beline? No.
Can.
Yeah, my nomination and vote goes to Beline.
And who would anybody like to second that? Would anybody like to put themselves forwards?
Happy to second it. Belinda would be great. It doesn't look like there's anyone else that wants to put their hand up.
Fantastic, brilliant, thank you. So we've got 3 nominations. Congratulations, Belinda. Thank you very much for joining the team. Dan is going to remain as the secretary, and it's a fantastic role that Dan provides with organising and coordinating, which really enables Belinda and I to sort of think about direction of this group and direction of where we want to go to. So thank you for that. So Belinda, Dan and I get together and talk through a little bit more around how we want to focus, how we want to link into the Hydrographic Commission's work plan, and also link up with other committees and groups around the region. Okay, so we're way ahead of schedule today, guys. So any other business? You're all thinking about us wanting to go to bed early, aren't you? Hi, Anna.
Or
Hi,
having
Having
yeah,
breakfast.
breakfast. Just wanted to share with you our New Zealand MGI working group will hold the sixth meeting tomorrow in Wellington. So obviously this is an invite, but to join online, because most of you will probably not have time to fly to Wellington. But yeah, we have a really great, I'm just going to share quickly the program because I do have it somewhere floating around. So we'll be celebrating our fifth year as a community, as a working group. So that's the program. So Endicott will be I should have, sorry. Yeah, I'll keep it like that if it's not too small for you guys. So Endicott will be providing some insight on the IGIF framework and how we used that for New Zealand, as a New Zealand use case, how we apply that to the NZMGI working group. Some updates on the S100 standards. I'll be providing an update on our roadmap and future priorities. And then we have a few presentations around data reuse from Oceanum, MPI, so this is fisheries, and NZDF and Eagle technology. And then there will be, I know that Billine actually is working with Kevin on the slides for tomorrow. Thank you. So a little update on what's happening in the CBET 2030 world, and then opportunities to look at a coordinated approach for seabed mapping for New Zealand. And that will open on a workshop in the afternoon on how we can set up a kind of special interest group and a working group to have better coordination, national coordination and leadership around seabed mapping. So the plenary sessions will be recorded if you cannot make it online. And I'll send you, I'll put a little note in the chat for to join the meeting online if you're interested in. And this will be recorded and so available to watch at a later date, and minutes and everything. The report of this meeting will be published online on the MGI web pages. Yeah, I thought I'd just mention that because there might be some interest from the group. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Anna. This is fantastic, really interesting. So who attends?
Yeah, so we, I might just as well, I'll just rehearse my presentation. But so the working group started really small. So 5 years ago, there was probably just 20 of us, especially from central organizations. And today there's more than 200 people in the working group. We have a steering group kind of providing guidance on what we should focus on, what are the priorities for the working group. And so they are from 11 central organizations and CRI, and I'm just gonna share again because just listening to that is it's always easier with a bit of support. So yeah, so this was the first meeting with about 20 people in the room, and today there's more than 200 from 70 organizations, so public, private sector, CRIs, academia, and so on. And the steering group has all those organizations involved in it, so 11 mainly from central government, but also the Coastal Special Interest Group from local government. And yeah, there's more and more interest every year, and so we're quite stoked by that. Yeah, and I think we are expecting 85 plus attendees tomorrow, including S3 US, which wasn't expected. So yeah, quite a broad interest in what we're doing in this working group. So yeah, really exciting. Really exciting day ahead tomorrow.
Yeah, that sounds brilliant. I hope it goes well, Anna.
Thank
That's
you.
fantastic. I probably won't join online, but I would love to watch some videos if you're happy to share hyperlinks to where we could find those.
Yeah, I'll share that once it's published. No worries at all. Or just before I forget, because yeah, my head is a bit everywhere. I'm just gonna share the link for tomorrow if there's any interest, but no offense if people are tied up in other commitments, but just providing the opportunity if someone is interested. So just popping that now. There we go. Voilà.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, any other business that anybody else would like to raise?